Incompetent people surround me wherever I go, and I wish it wasn't out of line to tell them so. The waiter never seems to get my order right. Seems like I got to complain almost every night. How much longer can I take this abuse? I try to be nice, but what's the use when I'm the only one that does anything right? Sometimes it seems like the world is run by chimpanzees, even though some of them might come with college degrees. It's getting hard to separate the facts from fiction, but I think I can say with obvious conviction that in this old world, everybody's wrong but me.
Welcome to Uncommon Sense. My name is Charlotte Laws, and today we're going to be discussing multiple topics from China's one-child policy to homeschooling, placebos for kids, and what is called the $1 million meat. But first I'd like to introduce my esteemed panelists. First we have Ralph Cissne, who is a well-respected writer and creative strategist. Welcome.
Thanks, Charlotte.
And we also have a talented singer-songwriter named Garret Swayne.
Thank you.
So the first question I have for you is your keyboard dirtier than your toilet? They did a study of about 33 keyboards and found many of them were quite contaminated. Some of them, one of them was, I think, was 5 times dirtier than a toilet. And 100 kids at a school got sick because of sharing a keyboard. And it's just kind of interesting because, I mean, germs are everywhere, but the thing I think is interesting is that everything's always compared to a toilet. Mm-hmm. To me, that's very interesting.
I think the toilet should protest.
I think so. It's either that or it has fewer germs than my dog's mouth. It's the toilet or the dog's mouth. Those are the two things that seem to get a lot of attention.
The dog drinks out of the toilet.
They go together, right?
That sort of, they kind of normalizes the level of hygiene in both of those places.
Well, anytime you have multiple people using the same keyboard and mouse, then obviously that's going to happen. I assure you, my keyboard, no one touches it but me.
Yeah.
Right.
Or it never has. So it only has Ralph germs on it.
Right.
That's good. Ralph germs are not so
well,
bad
mine
either.
only has Garret germs on mine, but I also eat over my keyboard, so it's
it's got lots of food
it's got
in the
a lot
cracks.
of food in the cracks too.
Yeah, tricks are for kids, huh?
Well, I found some interesting information related to it. First of all, there's a website that ranks toilets from the dirtiest to the cleanest, and O'Hare Airport does quite well, by the way. But Rock City, California, don't go there. Very dirty toilets.
Where's Rock City?
I have no clue, but that's not a place to go if you're going to go to the bathroom. And then also they said that if you're right-handed, you wash your left hand more thoroughly. So I guess if you're left-handed, perhaps it's the other way around.
Right.
And about half of men wash their hands after they go to the restroom, and about and a quarter of all women, or don't do it. I mean, a half of all men don't, and a quarter of all women don't. And then also, germs can stay alive on your hands up to 3 hours after you go to the bathroom. I thought that was kind of
really?
interesting.
I thought they had longer lifespan than that.
No, 3, but I'm sure there are other germs that kind of jump on board. So because they're germs all the time.
Are you asking me whether I wash my hands?
I don't think I want to know.
I wash my hands before and after. But that's
That's the safe way to do it.
I do. Every time I touch my dogs, I wash my hands. I'm really good about that.
That's one of the filthiest places you can go is a public restroom.
Is that right?
Yeah, especially if you're a congressman.
Unless you're in O'Hare Airport.
Unless you're in O'Hare Airport, you're right. Right.
Well, they have these playing cards. This is a new thing in New York State, and actually it already took place in Florida. It's actually working pretty well, but they have these playing cards. They have the faces of victims on the playing cards, and they pass these out to the inmates.
Crime victims?
Yeah, crime victims, to try to see if anybody wants to turn in, have a tip, and you get rewards. It has the tip line and the reward amount, and oh, that's Susie Q. I know, I killed her 3 years ago, or whatever it is, and And it's apparently working pretty well.
To do what? Toward what end?
To find out more clues so the police can solve some of these unsolved crimes. These are crimes that have not been solved. These are victims' faces. And apparently it's working pretty well.
So let me get this straight. You're passing out cards to prisoners.
Yeah, you're giving them decks to play with.
Decks to play with. And they say,
to play with.
well, I can get $500 reward if I can give him a lead on this guy. Well, let's see, I don't like that guy over there.
That's right.
I can say, yeah, I saw him, drag her out to the back. That seems
Well, that's what sociologists say. They're actually concerned that a lot of fake tips may, and they want some fake faces to be put in the decks to see if anything happens as far as getting tips on people that are not really crime victims.
That would be a good idea.
Yeah, just to test it.
Seems rather bizarre, but
they say it's working in Florida. They've been doing this for
but
quite a while.
Can't they just post them in a book and
what
have
kind of rewards are they giving? I mean, it seems kind of
substantial.
I mean, no,
you're in prison. Your overhead's pretty low, so anything they give them is going to be like
$5 is a lot in prison.
5 cigarettes. Get 5 cigarettes if you help solve this. We'll give you a pack of condoms,
a carton of cigarettes,
pack of chewing gum, and some nylons.
A carton of cigarette and a conjugal visit.
Well, actually, crime tips in general are up 25% and up 40% in a lot of states and a lot of cities. And the main reason they're saying is because of the economy. So I'm not talking about just prisoners now. I'm talking about just in general. There are people making.
People are turning in criminals
they're
to make
saying,
money?
I need some money for my rent, and you can get about from $100 to $1,000 for a crime tip, and the average is about $400. So there are people saying, I can't afford my rent. Okay, and then they're turning in like their friend or their grandchild or whoever it may be.
But when their friend or grandchild gets out of prison and then hacks off their arm or worse,
then somebody else gets to make money on that tip.
There you go.
And then you're in the deck of cards. It goes to the prison, and
I avoid criminals and ratting on criminals. It's just not productive.
They're even taking tips by text message now. The police are. They're savvy on the internet.
OMG.
Well, that's good, I guess. I mean, whatever.
Have you ever reported anybody suspicious or turned anyone in?
I once saw a guy in a car clip a mirror off of another, just speeding by. They clipped the mirror off another guy, and they didn't stop. So I was trying to follow him, and I was actually chasing him, trying to get his license plate. And I couldn't get it. But he knew I was after him.
Wow.
And he was trying to avoid me. It was like really a high-speed chase for a while. But I didn't get his license.
A high-speed chase over a mirror.
I mean, I thought he was a hit-and-run driver. He was hitting.
Right.
You understand?
Yeah, that's true.
He was hit-and-run driver. I was trying to take down.
I've done that. I saw a woman bump into another woman and just drive off, and she did some damage. But I got the license plate, wrote it down on a piece of paper, and put it down. But I didn't give them my name and number.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I saw one time my husband and I went to this restaurant, and there were only 2 tables in the restaurant, and they were like tables for 2.
Mm-hmm.
That was it. There must have been 30 people in the kitchen. And we walk in, and both tables were full. We said, well, we'd like to have a table. They go, I'm sorry, but our tables are full. And so we decided to wait for a table. So we sit at this table. They only had one item on the menu, and we were like, this has got to be like money laundering. I mean, what are they doing with 30 cooks in the kitchen, and they have 2 tables that only seat 2 people, and they have one item on the menu?
What type
so
of
we turned them
restaurant
into
was
the
it?
police. It was, I don't know if it's like Indian or it was like some kind of, I mean, as far as the type of style, I can't really remember exactly, but it was some kind of Middle Eastern.
They were serving yak. It was a yak restaurant.
I remember there was like rice, salad, and something else.
They had one thing on the menu, and 30 cooks in the kitchen. And,
Yeah,
and
I
you
think
told the
they're up
police
to
about
no
it?
good.
And did you tell the police about it?
We did. I actually did.
And what do you think happened?
Probably nothing. I don't know, but I said it's a little suspicious.
But your spouse is an officer of the court. Doesn't he have a fiduciary responsibility to do that?
Not a fiduciary, a judicial.
Well, he's a lawyer. What do you mean? You mean when he sits as a judge?
No, an officer of the court. If you're an attorney, you're an officer of the court.
I don't know. I'm the one who turned him in. I don't know.
No,
And you don't know what happened. Where was this restaurant?
It's in Van Nuys, in Los Angeles area.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, they probably didn't get him for money laundering. They probably got him for like having a dirty
Only having one item on the menu, depriving customers the right
What's
to eat
next,
there.
Charlotte?
The next item is placebo pills for kids.
Oh, I love those.
And there is a mother who came up with this
make me feel
placebo
great.
pill. She decided to name it Obocalp, which is backwards, placebo backwards. And she made this for all the parents who have hypochondriacs. And she thinks that, rather than pumping kids up with drugs like we do in our society, just give them a placebo when they're complaining all the time. And she's marketing them.
And she figured nobody could break that code.
That's right. Our kids in public schools, I don't think they could figure that out.
She's clearly lost control of her child. When I was growing up, if my mother sensed that you weren't really sick, it was like, you got 5 seconds to get over it and get out of bed and get ready for school. And that, and in 3 seconds we were out of bed ready for school. I don't understand that. But at the same time, she would give us things that didn't really make any difference, but like, to drink cranberries, oh, well, this will make you feel better. Or like, or 7 Up. This will make you feel better, and you drink it. You know what? She said it'd make you feel better.
Yeah, it did.
You believed her because she was the authority in our house.
Your mom.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've done tests where there was in 2007 they did a test with 70 kids on ADD, and the kids, 80% of them said they felt better after having a placebo. So there are tests that substantiate that idea that placebos can work.
Right.
I mean, do you think that it's ethical for doctors to give placebos to anyone, or maybe to kids with parents' permission, or to patients who sign a release?
They should sell them on the ice cream truck.
If it's effective.
I mean, it's controversial. I mean, it's a controversial area.
What's the controversy?
Well, doctors are not really of one mind on the issue.
Because they use placebos in double-blind tests to prove the efficacy of the actual treatment.
Right.
And so just giving them out, then all of a sudden somebody's going to wake up and go, you know what? None of this stuff works. They're just like lying to us. But again, it's a matter of perception. I don't know. I don't have an answer to it.
Yeah, it's different. And there's no consensus, is what I'm saying, in the medical community.
And you thought we would be able to enlighten you?
Well, I thought you guys are smart guys.
We are
I thought
smart
you have
guys,
the answer,
but
that's all right. You can't have every
Charlotte,
answer.
I'm not a doctor, as you know, and I'm not even a surgeon.
But you are a patient, a mental patient.
But an opportunity came up last week for me to separate conjoined twins, and I was thinking about whether I should do it or not, and I decided.
Someone wanted to.
I decided to go ahead. Because, even if I feel, at least we'd learn something from the...
Someone was going with the lowest bid, is that what you're saying?
Well, there is a gap between rich and poor with regards to lifespan.
Whether you go to a real doctor or go to Garret.
If you go to Garret, you're definitely going to die.
I have watched the
I won't be beat.
You get a better price on brain tumor removal. Bring it to me. I'll match it.
Yeah. Faith healing, we go way beyond that.
Go ahead.
I'm crying.
So in the year 2000, the life expectancy difference between a rich person and a poor person was actually in 1980 it was 3 years, and now it's in 2000 it was 4.5 years. So in other words,
So
the
it's
rich
shrinking.
people are having longer lives, and it's getting greater and greater and greater. And if you look at an undeveloped country, a man lives 10 years shorter life than a woman in a first world, more developed country. So there is a huge difference, and Obama has come forward and say that he wants to do something about this disparity, which, I mean, I think it's difficult to do because there are lots of factors.
Does it involve killing rich people, killing certain rich people?
Taking their money away, then they're not rich, and then they don't live such a long time, and everybody dies early.
The reason you had that mortality rate in undeveloped countries, particularly like with Africa and the AIDS epidemic, is like people just have way too many sex partners.
In Africa?
Yeah, with unprotected sex. I mean, that's the essence of it. And it doesn't matter old people with young people. So it's a cultural thing I think that they've turned it a little bit, but the numbers are just staggering.
I mean, they say it's health literacy is a lot of it, and just your lifestyle and your eating habits.
Right here, little kids eating themselves into type 2 diabetes and
yes.
a lifelong. Talk about shortened lifespans. That's actually gone the other way. Our life expectancy is being retarded by the overweight obesity epidemic.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't matter.
I also noticed that in the poorer neighborhoods, that a lot of times the prices are a lot higher than in wealthier neighborhoods. Amazing.
You know why?
Because they can get the money for it, and because these people don't have the transportation to get around and to
and also,
shop.
you know, large supermarkets don't want to come build in poorer neighborhoods because, you know, there's just not enough, not enough margin in it. So they're left with little mom and pop stores with lower.
I don't even think that's. I mean, I think it's just being able to take advantage. I mean, you go to a sandwich shop, like a chain sandwich shop, and literally the prices will be $1 more in a poor neighborhood than a wealthy neighborhood. I've walked around looking at furniture, you know, found the same items in a poor area and a wealthy area, a huge difference in price. When my daughter was going to get, she needed to get braces with the orthodontist, we checked.
And you didn't go to Garret?
I didn't go to you, Garret, because
yeah,
I wanted her to have a few teeth when she grew up.
I have good prices on braces. I have really good prices on braces.
So I went to 3 orthodontists.
Call me
2 of
later.
them were in like high rises in wealthy areas. Their prices were fairly similar. And then I went to an orthodontist in a kind of bad neighborhood. There were lots of minority people in the waiting room. You know, you had to wait a long time to get in. I thought, boy, this place is going to be really cheap. I went in there. It was more expensive than those ritzy orthodontists in high rises. I could not believe it. I was so surprised.
Well, part of that is economy of scale, because in a neighborhood where you're moving more patients, more product through, your prices can come down, and you have competition. In a poor neighborhood, you have less competition, and you're moving less product, so your prices are naturally.
I don't know, but that waiting room was totally full. The ritzy places, I didn't have to wait around. There was nobody in the waiting room.
You know, different things drive prices in different products, but in general, I know in terms of food, because my dad had a grocery store, and he was, so I know the grocery business. You know, small mom and pop stores cannot buy on the volume that a Ralph's or a Vons.
Don't apologize to me.
You know, or a Vons buys on, and so mom and pop stores cannot sell food as cheaply as Ralph's does.
No, I understand that.
And so when there's no Ralph's in the neighborhood, food's going to be more expensive. And that's the way it is. Well, but I don't know about orthodontia.
Yeah, well, I've just noticed it in lots of different areas, and that's what's been kind of shocking to me. And I just feel that, and it's like people buying food at their 7-Eleven. I'm thinking, I mean, I would never do that. It's like so stupid to waste all that money, and you pay 3 times the price at a 7-Eleven.
The price of Domino's is pretty much the same everywhere.
Domino's?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think large chains, pizzas, they charge the same.
Well, that's the sandwich shop was a Subway.
It was?
And the price was about $1 more in the poor neighborhood than in Sherman Oaks, where I lived.
Wow.
So
Are
it was
you
a lot.
sure?
I'm positive. I knew the prices. I'm positive.
Right.
And they have different prices at different
If you go to
chains.
an airport, if you go to McDonald's at the airport, it's more at an airport.
That's true.
But
yeah, that's true.
But outside of that,
But their operating costs are much higher in an airport.
Maybe. Yeah. True.
Well, there's also a study about fatty foods, which kind of relates to this, and those with females with low socioeconomic status tend to eat more fatty foods, and they first discovered this in monkeys. And why it was interesting in monkeys is because, with humans, they always say, oh, the reason that these, the whole dieting thing and the skinny models on TV and the advertising, and they're always able to say, oh, well, the reason why certain women pig out or have problems is because of ads or because of our culture, et cetera. But with monkeys, if you had a lower status, you would actually start eating more fatty. They had these little banana pellets that were just like eating chocolate or ice cream for a human, and the low on the totem pole females would pig out all night long on these little banana pellets.
How do monkeys determine their socioeconomic status? Like, do some have better jobs than others?
The popular people,
they have a nicer hairdo.
The popular monkeys, all the others gather around and pick fleas off of them.
Right.
Yeah.
But how is that determined?
So they say that. Well, I don't know enough about monkeys as far as how they figure that out. I just know that it does exist because you do have a pecking order, even with a group of dogs in my house. There's a pecking order to who's kind of the honcho dog.
Well, okay.
So, but they say it has to do with the stress. It's like a compensation type thing. And then they did studies in people, and they found that women, if they're given difficult puzzles to do, they would get stressed if it was too hard of a puzzle, and they'd start eating more fatty, bad things than if it was something that was easy to complete. They didn't find as much of a difference with men. Men were not as much
I would like
prone
to think
that.
that we had evolved, that we haven't actually in the last 30 years. We've gotten much worse with this. This whole issue of like not being able to control our urges. When the mind says, I want something that logically you wouldn't take because you know it's bad for you, like drugs or cigarettes or too much alcohol, whatever it is, that rather than saying, no, I've had enough, I'm full, you just, this sense of immediate gratification just overwhelms us. So.
I think also it has to do with eating to live versus living to eat. And I think that, there have been times where I've had really menial jobs in my life where it's kind of depressing and you think, oh my God, this is like my whole life is like being wasted. And then you start thinking about food a lot. I mean, you're thinking about your next meal because there's nothing else to look forward to.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so you do end up eating more.
After 9/11,
naturally.
I honestly gained 10 pounds because I said, screw it, the world's coming to an end. And I bought circus cookies with a little frosting on them. I started eating ice cream. None of this stuff I touch because I'm like, pretty militant about my diet.
Circus cookies, come on.
Have you ever tried them? They're addictive, and you can just taste the, and boy, I really just got upside down. Even started drinking soda. I mean, oh wow.
I would wager that if everybody
I stopped though.
Had more sex, had all the sex they wanted, they wouldn't eat as much.
That's not true because the people that are less educated and lower income have more sex than people that are more educated and higher income. That is true.
They eat Cheetos while they're having sex.
it all goes together.
And you can combine ice cream and sex in a lot of creative ways.
But also they do say that people that are, in the poorer neighborhoods, a lot of times they don't look ahead as far. Maybe the less educated people don't look as ahead as far. So like if you're more educated, you're more likely to say, this is going to be bad for me in 10 years. I'm going to have wrinkles or whatever. Right. Whereas if you live maybe in a dangerous neighborhood, you may kind of be thinking more day to day and thinking, who cares? Today matters.
I could get a
10 years from now, I might not even be alive.
Gratification.
I think
versus
so.
having my feet amputated in 10 years.
Right.
Because of diabetes or something.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge problem.
Well, on the topic of food, People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, which is the largest animal organization in this country, has come up with a challenge, and they're offering $1 million to the first person who can come up with an in vitro meat that is commercially viable and that is a good price by the year 2010.
What does in vitro mean?
In vitro means that it's basically you're growing animal parts without an animal. So it would be like meat. It'd be like substitute meat without actually
any sort
having
of a pain.
You would have.
Yeah, you wouldn't be killing an animal for the meat.
You would have rump roast, but no heart or kidneys.
Right. So
you just have the rump.
The rump would not feel pain as it's being eaten or killed.
Exactly.
Exactly. I kind of like that idea.
Yeah, and there actually are in vitro, there's meat right now being grown in labs, in vitro meat, starting in 2003.
Really?
But it's not right now cost effective, so they can't commercially produce it. It's very expensive.
There are almost no fat people in Italy. At least last time I was there, I looked around, I didn't see many of them. And on their menus, if something has been frozen or processed, they always say this has been frozen or processed because they're adamant about eating fresh stuff. And I just think that's a big part of why we're all such blimps in this culture is because one, we eat too much and we don't eat fresh food that's grown locally.
Well, the in vitro meat would have less fat content because you could manipulate
Believe me,
fat.
I'm going vegetarian. I wouldn't touch that stuff.
It's cleaner, it's not going to have less prone to disease and that kind of thing. But they do say
it's not going to be pumped up with hormones and stuff.
Exactly, it wouldn't need to be. But they do say that it doesn't exactly resemble meat. It's a little bit different. I don't think it's like the textured soy, but I think it's a little bit different than what we see as meat right now.
Well, as you know, as I've told you, Charlotte, and as you know as well, I have discovered a restaurant where a guy makes out of tofu, he processes it in a way that, to me, tastes really, really very close to meat.
As they said in The Godfather, it's the best in the city.
It's the best in the city. It is. It's really great.
We went there. It was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I mention his name just as a plug?
Well, you're not allowed to advertise.
Okay, well then I won't. But he's in Reseda, and it's a Vietnamese place. Okay.
And he closes at 2 o'clock.
No, but it's good.
Well, there's in China, there was a big earthquake, and 70,000 people died, and 370,000 were injured. It was a huge ordeal. And so they have this one-child policy that they've had in China, I believe, since 1979. And so now they are saying that because of the earthquake, if you lost your only child, they're going to allow you to apply to have more children and additional child. And I'm just curious what you think of the one-child policy. Obviously, we have too many people. In China, even though according to a study at UCLA, this one-child policy really is working in China, and it's really curbed the number of children born. Right. But every month, there's still an additional 1 million people that are added to the population in China. So there's still, the population is getting larger and larger and larger.
But it's slowing it down.
It is slowing it down significantly.
So what happens if you have a second child? Are you...
They behead you. No, they do put you. They could put you in jail. They will not. No, and actually, that's not true. In Germany, they can put you in jail. In China,
Germany, they have that too.
Germany, I think it's in Germany. Yeah, that they.
They have
no.
Because they have a shrinking. They have a shrinking population. They want people to have.
They just don't give you benefits. I think it's all it is benefits.
India?
You don't get educational benefits. You don't get any sort of assistance from the government. In China. But if you live in a rural area, then you might be allowed to have more than one child anyway. And if you're a minority population, they actually don't have the one-child rule, is what I read.
What are minority populations in China?
I don't know what those are, but I just know that they have this affirmative action type thing where they allow you to have more children if you're not Chinese. So
they want more.
I think you talk about carbon footprints. There's nothing that's more carbon intensive than another person driving, buying, consuming, littering.
No, I know.
And reproducing. So this is a conversation that we need to have, and no one wants to talk about it. It's like, forbidden to touch it. But again, since I've been in college, we were talking about these issues in the 70s about, hey, look, it's like more population. What is sustainable? And I think this is like in your own life, just like with food. Well, what is sustainable? Do I really need to eat like 5,000 calories when really 1,600 is basically all you need? And you're going to be healthier if you have caloric restriction.
This whole zero population growth was a movement that was quite popular in the 60s, but is less so now. Especially in the third world. The third world doesn't catch on to it that much.
Right. Well, I mean, we don't have, with the people that were born in America, we don't actually have here a population growth. But with the people that are coming in, they are increasing in population.
The immigrants are increasing.
The immigrants are having more children than the people that were originally the indigenous people to the United States. So that's true. So anyway. I guess we should probably wrap it up. Anything else you want to say? Like a little joke you want to tell me before we go?
Oh,
you're asking me?
Either of you.
I think that tofu is as good as you make it.
That's really funny.
No, I'm not trying to make a joke about it. I'm saying the extra firm tofu, you can bake it and add sauces, and it's very delicious.
I'm a vegetarian, as you know.
So it doesn't taste like meat unless you process it like Kevin
There's
does.
some pretty good some substitutes that I think are pretty tasty, especially some Chinese restaurants that are excellent, have excellent substitutes. But anyway, I want to thank you both for joining me today.
Thank you,
Charlotte. It was an excellent show, and I hope we brought some uncommon sense into your life. As you putter through your day, remember, everybody's wrong but me. See you next time. Only one that we didn't get to.
Yeah, the Tennessee says only dumbest kids. That's really bizarre. That's
no, actually, I remember reading about that.
But we can talk about that in the next show. We'll do a whole thing on schools and vouchers and education and whatever. We'll do.
Well, how come they're not running the credits?
You know what would be
I have no idea. Maybe I stopped too early, but he told me to stop.
Just look up.
Some of them might come with college degrees. It's getting hard to separate the facts from fiction, but I think I can say with obvious conviction that in this old world, everybody's wrong but me. Everybody's wrong to disagree.